If you think the Imperium of Man or even the Forerunner are powerful, wait until you hear about the 5 most advanced civilizations in science fiction. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another science fiction top 5 list. Today we are counting down the most advanced factions or civilizations within all of science fiction. I only have a few very simple rules for this list. The first is that we're looking at factions, not individuals, so no gods, no deities, nothing like that. The second rule is that I'm only including one faction for any given universe, and the third rule is that because I'm not very familiar with the genre, I will not be considering anything primarily found in anime. Let's start with number 5, and I want to preface this with a brief explanation of how I've ordered this list. First of all, while I do know a good amount about science fiction, I don't know every fictional universe ever created. That's obvious. With that in mind, I've gone for the universes that I'm most familiar with and that I think are the most mainstream. When ordering the list among the civilizations that I chose as the top 5, I generally split the early half of the list into those who don't have full control over space and time, while the latter half typically do. Number 5 was a tough one because there were just so many options. I was tempted to include, for example, the precursors from the Halo series, but to me, even they didn't have enough power to gain the number 5 spot. This position goes to humanity from the Isaac Asimov story, The Last Question. The Last Question, which is one of the most famous science fiction short stories of all time and also one of my favorites, details the advancement of humanity over 100 billion years. The story starts in 2061. At this point, a large supercomputer known as the Multivac has been organizing and running much of humanity's affairs. This point in time is notable because it's the first instance where someone asks the Multivac, can entropy be reversed? The question is repeated by humanity at various stages of technological evolution throughout various parts of the story. By the time the question has been asked for the final time, the universe is near death and humanity has advanced and ascended past the physical form and fused with the computer. The story ends with man, who is now fused as one, asking the computer whether entropy can be reversed. Trillions of years later, after the galaxy has died and entropy has consumed all, the computer finally answers the question of whether entropy can be reversed with a single sentence: let there be light. With that, the computer manages to reverse entropy and rebirth the universe. Obviously, this is a very powerful and very advanced feat. The reason I've included it only at number 5 rather than higher on the list is because it's unclear whether the AC at this point is more of a god than a machine. Also because other than actually ascending from a physical plane, we don't have a whole lot of other information about the feats of humanity. And finally, they show less of a control over time and matter than some of the other civilizations on this list. Number 4 is The Culture from the Culture series by Ian M. Banks. The Culture represents, in my mind, the most advanced a civilization can become without being able to exert total control over matter and some control over time. The Culture is an almost totally utopian society, with each individual having an almost indefinite lifespan and being able to connect to all information within the Culture at a whim. The Culture has progressed to a point where most individuals can spend most of their time attempting to find happiness. Things like laws are of no concern, and food production and all other aspects of work are controlled by artificial intelligence and drones. Perhaps most impressively, the Culture are able to tap into the fabric of the universe. They can either use this as a weapon or as a potentially unlimited source of energy. Much of the Culture, and really specifically that last bit, seems quite similar to the precursors from the Halo universe. However, because we know much more about the Culture, I decided to go with them. Alright, so let's move on. Before we get into number 3, I do just want to take a second and go completely off topic and make a brief channel announcement. A bunch of you guys have been asking me whether I'll do a Battlefront 2 playthrough. I just want to say that today, probably right when you're watching this video, I will be starting my playthrough on my Twitch channel. To watch that, you can go to twitch.tv/EckhartsLadder. Alright, back on topic, and now we're on to number 3 and looking at the races that have control over time. The first of these races is the Time Lords from the Doctor Who franchise. I will admit I don't know a lot about Doctor Who, and I know the feats of the Time Lords are somewhat inconsistent, especially between the television works and the other expanded universe content, but I'll do my best to give a brief description of their power. It actually seems like in most areas, the Time Lords would be considered fairly well below even the culture in technological advancement. However, their time travel capacity and capabilities cannot be ignored. Time Lords can travel fairly freely through time, can manipulate events basically at will, and can monitor various ongoing timelines at once. As I said, I obviously do not know a lot about the Time Lords, but just based on the fact that they control time, I'll give them the number 3 spot. Number 2 is the Xeelee, and in the Versus and the Who Would Win universe, which I'm obviously a part of, sometimes if a potential matchup is just totally uneven, they'll call it a Xeelee stomp. For example, the Forerunner would Xeelee stomp the Rebel Alliance. The Xeelee have total control of basic matter within their universe. They've created structures that range in the millions of light years and are able to manipulate matter in a way not consistent with the ordinary laws of physics. Xeelee ships are actually made out of the fabric of space itself and are basically impossible to destroy. Furthermore, the Xeelee are able to travel through time at ease and inhabit various dimensions of which they can move through. The time travel of the Xeelee is a bit more grounded in science fiction than that of the Time Lords. However, it could be argued that Doctor Who races are more powerful. So with that being said, keep in mind that this position number 2 and number 3 could have potentially been switched. Number 1 is the Downstreamers from the Manifold series by Stephen Baxter. The Downstreamers, although once just humans, now have ascended to a level perhaps even beyond that of gods. They have not only total control of their universe, but control of all universes. They're able to travel through time, through dimensions, through the multiverse at a whim. They've seen and experienced anything that has happened, will happen, or could possibly happen. It's also possible that they may have created universes and perhaps even an infinite number of universes in their own right. Basically, the Downstreamers are almost comically advanced. There's almost nothing that they can't do, and I don't really see any further way that they could advance. For that reason, they top out my list of the 5 most advanced civilizations in science fiction. However, these are just my top 5 advanced civilizations. I obviously don't know all of science fiction, as I mentioned earlier, and I'd love to hear what you guys think should have made this list. I know, for example, that there are dozens of very powerful factions within the Culture series. Which one of those would you have preferred to see rather than the Culture itself? Let me know all of that and more down in the comments. Don't forget that I will be streaming Star Wars Battlefront 2 on Twitch TV today. You can either follow me there so you know when the stream started and when the next streams will be, or you can also follow me on Twitter. I always tweet before I start streaming. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.